When the internet was invented, it was not designed to be used the way we use it today. Tim Berners-Lee built it with good intentions, created a network that would allow us to share information freely. Then came Web 2.0 when social media took over, dominated by big tech companies. It's easy to criticize this generation of the internet for its many flaws, but there is no denying the value it brought to billions of people around the world. The internet went from something that only nerds used to something that grandma uses to communicate with the family group chat. But now it feels like things are heating up again, like we are at the tipping point of another major shift in the evolution of the internet. Just yesterday, Google announced a brand new experimental search engine powered entirely by artificial intelligence. They call it Bard, which is actually the name of an AI assistant that I had developed for my own personal use. So when I heard the news, I was like, oh no, they stole my idea. Then I realized they probably did UNT because Google has been working on large language models for more than a decade. So what is going on? Is this the start of a new era for the internet? Some people like Mark Andreessen say that we have already entered Web 3.0, in his own words. The defining characteristic of Web 3.0 will be the move from a network of computers to a network of networks. A giant globally distributed peer-to-peer network that allows all kinds of new possibilities. And he's right. We are living in an age where anyone can build a following, create digital products, sell them directly to customers without any middlemen or gatekeepers. What's more, we are creating entirely virtual worlds where people can interact with each other, play games, attend concerts, buy and sell things. In fact, if you look at the metaverse as a whole, it's nothing more than a collection of different blockchain networks. There's the Ethereum blockchain where NFTs are traded. There's the Decentralized blockchain where land is bought and sold. There's the Polygon blockchain where most of the actual transactions take place. It's a network of networks. And so in a way, the next generation of the internet is already here. But if you ask me, we are still far away from Web 5.0. Why? Well, because the real paradigm shift won't come when we decentralize everything. That's just one piece of the puzzle. The bigger leap forward will come when we replace centralized databases with AI-driven knowledge. Let me explain. At the core of every major tech company, there is a gigantic database. It contains more data points than anyone could ever imagine. Google's database is the foundation of their search engine. Facebook's database powers their social media platform. Amazon's database determines which products get recommended to whom. These systems work great until someone wants to change them. If someone tries to add new features or fix bugs, they might accidentally introduce bias into the system or make it easier for scammers to manipulate the results. We've seen this time and time again, whether it's YouTube promoting fake news, TikTok amplifying extremist groups, or Instagram encouraging teenagers to starve themselves. Yes, these problems can be fixed. Engineers can tweak the algorithms, but they usually don't because fixing one problem creates a whole new set of problems. That's why the majority of the code in these giant tech companies is dedicated to maintaining legacy code instead of building new features. Think about that. If you work at Google, Facebook, or Amazon, the majority of your time is spent keeping the lights on. This also explains why big tech companies are so slow to adopt new technologies. What if the new technology accidentally introduces some kind of bias into the system? Better not risk it. In order to solve this problem, we need to find a better way to organize knowledge, something that is less prone to human error, something more robust, more efficient, and more accurate. Enter artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is the answer to solving the limitations of traditional software. Software is great at automating repetitive tasks, but it cannot handle complex tasks that require reasoning, intuition, and creativity. With the help of AI, we can finally build systems that automatically extract insights from unstructured data. For example, let's go back to Google. Today, their search engine is based on keywords. When you type in a query, the engine looks for exact matches. Then it ranks them based on how relevant they are. But this method has some obvious limitations. For example, you can't ask follow-up questions. You can't expect it to summarize an entire article for you or generate a completely new recipe based on the ingredients that you have available at home. That's why Google invested heavily into DeepMind and recruited Demis Hassabis, the founder of DeepMind, to lead Google research. Their goal is to build something better than keyword-based search, something that can understand natural language and deliver much more relevant answers. They've made a lot of progress over the past few years, but it wasn't enough for Sundar Pichai. He wanted to push the limits even further. So last year, he recruited a team of former OpenAI engineers led by Jeff Dean, a legendary Google engineer who pretty much single-handedly built Google Cloud. Jeff Dean's mission is to build a system that can access and process all of the information that Google has collected over the past 25 years. This project has been shrouded in secrecy until yesterday, when Google finally decided to show the world what they've been working on. They're calling it Bard. Let me show you how it works. To access the system, you type in a prompt. You can ask it any question that you want. It might be a factual question, a conceptual question, or you may just want it to summarize an entire research paper for you. The engine processes your request and then formulates a series of yes or no questions that can be answered by scouring through Google's database. Once it finds the answers, it summarizes them in plain English and presents them to you as a list of bullet points. So far, so good, but that's not all it can do. It can also help you make decisions. You see, every search query is unique and the quality of the answers depends on the quality of the question. With the help of AI, we can learn how to phrase our queries in a way that automatically generates the best possible answers. It's almost like having an assistant that knows everything that Google knows. Now, you might think this sounds very similar to ChatGPT, and you would be right. In fact, ChatGPT works the exact same way. It asks follow-up questions to better understand your intent, then formulates a series of yes or no questions that can be answered by scouring through Microsoft's database. Then it summarizes the answers in a way that makes sense. The key difference between Bard and ChatGPT is that Bard can access Google's database directly without having to save the answers to a bunch of files on a hard drive. This makes Bard much faster and more reliable. It also means that Bard is constantly up to date. Whatever you search for, you can be sure that the answers are as recent as possible. We are still in the early days, so there are obvious limitations. For example, you can only ask it questions that have been answered before. Unlike ChatGPT, it cannot generate a new story based on a fictional scenario. It also doesn't have access to real-time information. It doesn't know what happened 5 minutes ago, 5 seconds ago. Still, this is a massive improvement over traditional search engines. It's almost like upgrading from a calculator to a supercomputer. Now think about how useful this could be for students. Imagine being able to ask a machine that has access to every book in the library for an outline of the entire book. You can get chapter summaries, compare characters, find arguments for and against certain topics. You can also use it to quickly figure out what sources were used to write the book. The possibilities are really endless, which is why Google plans to integrate Bard into their suite of Office applications. Think about how much more productive you could be if you had an AI-powered assistant that helped you analyze data, summarize research papers, draft emails, and presentations. There's no doubt that Google Bard is an incredible achievement, but as impressive as it is, we are still far away from Web 5.0. Why? Well, because Google Bard is just a tool, a very powerful tool, but still a tool. The next generation of the internet will be driven by knowledge. To put it simply, the real paradigm shift will happen when machines become smarter than humans. Until then, we will continue to live in a world where everything revolves around big tech companies. They will control the flow of information and shape the way we view the world. Of course, they can try to fix these issues, but why would they do that when they can simply monetize them? Take YouTube, for example. If they crack down on fake news, they lose advertising revenue. If they ban hate speech, they lose engagement. It's easier for them to just embrace these issues and collect ad revenue from both sides. We are at a critical moment in the history of the internet. We can either fight to reclaim the internet and make it more equitable for everyone, or give up and accept the dark side of the internet. Will we evolve into a postmodern society where we curate our reality with the help of artificial intelligence, or will we embrace the flaws of the current system? Either way, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.